Okay, so we are live, and I haven't done any action figure unboxings in a while because I haven't had any action figures to unbox. Well, that's not exactly true. I've got like a whole pile of stuff over there I still need to open, but I haven't had a whole lot of money to buy new action figures, so I've been kind of forgetting about doing unboxings. But I did buy these a few months ago, and these are 12-inch figures based on the classic 1980s movie Ghostbusters, and I have all four of the Ghostbusters, so we're going to open these today. I'd first seen these at Ollie's like a while back, and I'd never seen them in regular retail stores before. So I was kind of surprised that they existed. And, I like the cheap 12-inch figures, so I had to buy these. But when I first saw them there, they only had Ray and Winston and Peter. They did not have any Egon. And I'm like, I'm not going to buy 3 Ghostbusters. Like I want to have all 4 of them if I'm going to have Ghostbusters. So I decided to wait on it a little bit and see if they got any Egon in later. And sure enough, they did get any in Egon. And these were Ollie's. They were only $6 a piece. And since they were so cheap, I was able to buy all 4 of them in one fell swoop. And I got home, and I'm like, I'm going to open up these Ghostbusters. I'm really excited. And then I thought, you know what? No. Halloween is just a couple months away. I want something special to do on Halloween. What better to do than Ghostbusters? So I decided to save the Ghostbusters figures for Halloween, and here we are with the Halloween Spooktacular. And I'm going to open all 4 of these, and I'm going to do another action figure unboxing today because I want to open up this guy. So we're going to get 2 unboxing videos today, even though I haven't done any in a while. So hopefully that'll make up for some of the lost time. So, and like I said, Halloween, it's October 31st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Trick-or-treaters have not started to show up yet, so it's the perfect time to do this. So let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Let's have a look at the packaging, and we can see we're going to start with Ray, because Dan Aykroyd was the guy who came up with the idea for Ghostbusters in the first place. So it all started with Dan Aykroyd. My unboxing video is going to start with Dan Aykroyd. So we got a nice cartoony drawing of Ray Stantz down at the bottom. It says Ghostbusters Ray Stantz. Has a little neon green Slimer seal, and it says Classico. It's like, we only really need one word for classic, right? I say go with the French classique, because it's classy. It's not just classique, it's classy. It's the classy way of saying classique, and my light turned off. So the wire on this thing is going bad. So I guess we're just not going to have that light for this episode. That's too bad. Okay, I'm going to have to replace that at some point. This light was kind of crappy anyway. I want to get a better light. So yeah, there's the little Slimer seal there. And over here on the side, we got a picture of what the action figure looks like out of the box. Over here, we have some cross-cell artwork with the other 3 Ghostbusters. And that's Egon, and then Ray. Ray's one in the box. Egon, and then Peter, and then Winston. So yeah, so that's us all 4 of our Ghostbusters. So let's go ahead, and it looks like it'll open up at the bottom. It's kind of folded in. So there we go. Get that out, and hopefully this sleeve just slide out. And here we go. There's Ray Stantz. So he's got 1 accessory, which is nice because these don't always come with accessories. These cheap 12-inch figures, but they got to have his little proton emitter thing. So there's that. And then Ray himself. I know I have an X-Acto knife around here somewhere. I just saw it. What did I do with my X-Acto knife? I got 4 different figures here to unbox. I don't have time to waste looking around for you. Okay, there we go. So we're going to cut through that. And he's got some Bands are on his shoulders and some around his torso. So we got all that cut. And then these ones down at the ankles. And there is Ray Stantz out of the package. And the articulation on these is not too great because it is made by Hasbro. And Hasbro does not have the best articulation of the 12-inch figures. But it is a fairly nice, well-detailed figure. He's got, elbow pads and knee pads and various pockets and zippers and things like that. And this thing, which I assume is a catheter for when they piss themselves whenever they see a ghost. I know it says "I ain't afraid of no ghosts" in the theme song, but they're only human. Excellent likeness of Dan Aykroyd there. Looks just like him in the mid 80s as he looked in that movie. It's got a little tag on there that says Stantz. And I suspect that these are all for the same exact figure from the neck down. The only difference being that they're going to have different heads. And of course, Winston's going to have, darker skin color than the other boys. So yeah, let's go ahead and he can put the proton emitter in his hand. And you can tell which way it goes in because it's got like grooves at the bottom, like his fingers would fit in there. And his hand is kind of tilted. There is an articulation there, but his hand's kind of tilted so he can point it straight forward. So that's good. That's good that he can actually point the thing forward. So it would be nice if there was some elbow articulation, and then you could have him hold it with two hands like they're supposed to. But whatever. I think these will still look really cool on my shelf. Like I said, for the most part, the sculpting and the paint is good. I mean, the paint's fairly simple, but it gets the job done. And he's got, various appliques with like the Ghostbusters symbol and the patch like you would want him to. The one disappointment to me about this figure looking at it is that the proton pack itself is just kind of a sticker on this little raised, vaguely proton pack shaped platform. So they could have done a better job with that, I think, if I'm being honest. So let's have a look at the articulation. I got a head that turns all the way around, kind of get some expression with the side-to-side movement. Not much as far as looking up and down. You can look down about that far and look up about that far. So barely looks up at all. Looks down fairly decent. But it's a good figure of Ray Stantz. It looks like Dan Aykroyd. It gets the job done. His arms can move up about that far and move down about that far. And there is some wrist articulation, so you can rotate the wrists. This is a gripping hand over here, so you could probably hold something in that hand if you wanted to. If you've got a 3D printer like I do, I'm sure you can find various props and things and maybe print them out like a PKE meter or a ghost trap or something like that. I'm probably going to try to find a proton pack that I can 3D print and glue it onto the boys' backs so that I can have proper proton packs on them. But pretty good figure. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's move on to the next one. And we might as well go on to Harold Ramis, the screenwriter of Ghostbusters. So another guy who's responsible for how awesome Ghostbusters was. Now, when Dan Aykroyd originally came up with the idea for Ghostbusters, it was going to be like a much bigger, broader sci-fi epic kind of thing with like alternate dimensions and things like that. And the director, Ivan Reitman, convinced him to bring it down to earth a little bit more, make it a little more simple. And with Harold Ramis as the screenwriter, I would say that those are like the three fathers of Ghostbusters right there. That's just my opinion. Anyway, so we got that cut. And again, proton emitter. And then we go cut through the rubber tabs at the torso and the shoulders. And later on, I can get a Dremel and try to drill a hole in his head. That would have worked if you hadn't stopped me. All right, so we can compare the two now that they're out of the box, and they are indeed the same figure from the neck down as I suspected. So yeah, probably part of the reason that like on the real Ghostbusters cartoon show, they actually gave them different, they made sure they gave them different body types, and they gave them different color outfits, so you weren't buying the same action figure 4 times, but with different heads. So, so that would be advantage one to the real Ghostbusters versions versus the live action versions. How weird is it that the cartoon version is called the real Ghostbusters, but the one with real actors in it is just called Ghostbusters? Well, I do remember an episode from when I was a kid where the Ghostbusters were really excited to find out that they were going to be made into a big budget Hollywood movie, and they were talking about actors that could play them. Like, ooh, they should get Robert Redford or Paul Newman. And then when they saw the actual cast, they were like, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, who's Harold Ramis? So I guess in the continuity of the show, they were supposed to be, these were the guys that the movie was based on. So there's Egon, and again, we've got an excellent likeness of Harold Ramis. Got the glasses molded onto the head, which is not perfect, because then they're a little thick at the sides where they actually because it's one solid piece of plastic. But it's a kid's toy. This isn't like a NECA figure or anything like that. This is the kid's toy. So this is something you buy for your 8-year-old that you just showed the original movie, or maybe some episodes of the real Ghostbusters cartoon show, or maybe he saw the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie that would have been, when they put these toys out in the first place, and he's all excited about Ghostbusters, and you're like, oh, hey, here's you a cheap Egon action figure. Dad didn't have to spend a whole lot of money on it, and Dad's probably going to play Ghostbusters with the kids too, so let's be real. It's a win-win. So there we go. There's Egon out of the package. And then we got to move on to my personal favorite of our quartet, Peter Venkman, who I always identified with because he was a total smartass. Played by Bill Murray, of course. And there we go. Once again, it's an excellent likeness of Bill Murray. Looks just like him. And then we got the proton emitter. And then we cut the rubber tabs at the shoulders and at the torso and at the ankles. And there we go. Back off, man. I'm a scientist. All right. So there we got Peter Venkman. And we'll go ahead and put the proton emitter in his hand. And like with the others, he just kind of holds it straight out in front of him. His wrist articulation does seem to be a little gummy, so he's holding it in kind of like a gangsta kind of fashion. I'm going to move my drink cup so I got more room over here on my work table to put up the Ghostbusters, because we still got one more to go. One more of the boys in gray. And here we go. Last and certainly not least, Winston Zedmore, the guy who answered the want ad. As long as there's a steady paycheck involved, he'll believe anything you want. And here we go. Ernie Hudson is a really cool dude. In addition to being a great actor, he's in another Halloween-y sort of movie that I like, The Crow. Doesn't actually take place on like Halloween, Devil's Night, or whatever. Sometime around Halloween, I think. But yeah, he played the cop in The Crow. He was on Oz. Great actor. And he loves Ghostbusters, and he loves the Ghostbusters fans. And you'll see him go to conventions, and he'll actually wear his full uniform to take pictures with the fans. So that's nice. And this one, it seems like his wrist is stuck too, which I feel a little worse about, because like then it seems like racial profiling if I've got him holding his proton wand in that gangsta kind of pose. But whatever, that's what I'm stuck with. So it's not my fault. But there's Winston. Again, excellent likeness of Ernie Hudson. And we can tell that this is the crew from Ghostbusters 1, not Ghostbusters 2, because they've got the original Ghostbusters logo, not the one that's flashing the 2. But also, in the case of Winston specifically, he has a mustache, whereas Winston was clean shaven in the second one. I guess because they wanted him to look more like how he looked on the cartoon show. By the way, speaking of like weird stuff, is that Ernie Hudson actually auditioned to play Winston on the real Ghostbusters cartoon show, but he didn't get the part. It went to Arsenio Hall instead because they didn't think he sounded enough like the guy from the movie. Crazy, huh? So yeah, so that's all 4 of our Ghostbusters. Let me get them all together so you can get a nice shot of the whole group together. There's Winston and Ray and Peter. Do, Ray, Egon. So there's what they all 4 looked like together. Pretty cool. They're about to go show that prehistoric bitch how they do things downtown. So very cool. I'm very happy with these figures. They're going to look great on my shelf. Like I said, I think that it would be better if they had some elbow articulation so they could actually hold their proton wands in the proper manner. That would have been great. It would have been great also if they had like real proton packs and not just the sticker that they put on the back. That's a little disappointing, but hopefully I can 3D print them out something better. I'm just gonna have to look up, see if I can find some files for proton packs. I know people have done scans of the old Kenner figures. If nothing else, I could probably get one of the proton packs from those and scale it up on my 3D printer. But that's it for the Ghostbusters. Thanks for joining me for this Halloween Spooktacular. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. I'm about to be back in a couple of minutes. I'm going to open that Moff Gideon figure, and we're going to do that, which, that's not particularly Halloween-y, except for the fact that, people sometimes dress up as Star Wars characters for Halloween. That's the closest I can think of, but I mainly just want to get it open. So anyway, we will talk to you next time. Bye.